Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Psych.Club. This is Tom Sydney Bushnell, aka Numbers, and I have Mr. Mark Atwood in the house. Mark, how are you, buddy?
Good to see you again, Tom. Lionsgate 88, nice.
88 MPH.
Yeah, I like it.
Back to the Future. Today, we're going to talk primarily about The Batman because you gave a brilliant film review, and Mark Kermode and all the others need to watch their backs. I mean, I've met Mark, and Mark's a great film reviewer, but your one was fantastic. And I watched the film, and then I watched your review. I purposely didn't watch it until I'd seen the film. But I wear this T-shirt because I don't have a Batman one yet. I do actually. It's a faded one, but there's a link to this film as well. So, but yes, The Batman. So, people that haven't seen the review, go and watch on Mark's channel. I highly recommend it.
While the channel's still there, because I'm on a strike now for 3 months, so I can't upload anything to YouTube for 3 months.
Well, there you go.
With video like here we go.
But go and check it out. Go and check it out. And but yeah, I had some really cool thoughts. Any additional things that have come to mind since you have thought about it more? Mark, you've seen it twice and you've done your review.
Well,
I've got a whole bunch of notes of things I noticed that we'll get to go through, but any new things that pop up? Well,
no, it'd be great to go through your notes. But it's interesting you mentioned Mark Kermode because I remember him 30 years ago, and I did watch his review that he does with Simon Mayo, and I was like, I mean, he's better than that, you know, but you can tell that they have to talk within BBC guidelines. It's so annoying and useless. It's kind of useless. There are some really great reviewers online. I really like the Critical Drinker. He's hilarious, brilliant. He makes great videos. And Nerdrotic, he's also very, very good. But you know, a lot of movie reviews, I feel, I don't know. The reason I do the movie reviews, I've only done a couple on YouTube. I did the Bond movie and I just did the Batman because they're so culturally significant and they're so powerful as in their esoteric symbolism, but also as, you know, movies have been used very much as rituals, satanic rituals. And, you know, just to highlight that for people, I think is a useful thing. And the review I did was literally, I went to see the film once with my 11-year-olds and they talked all the way through it, right? Because it didn't captivate the younger kids as much as previous Batman films or Marvel films.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's a more cerebral version of Batman than I think we've had. And that's not to detract from Christopher Nolan's films because they are 3 masterpieces as well. It's just a very different film. And I feel like a student of this sort of thing because I like reading books like this. Jay Dyer. This is Esoteric Hollywood.
Number 2.
Number 2. Jay Dyer is a guy I'd really like to talk to actually because he really goes deep into this stuff.
Is he the one that does the Gaia series with all the film reviews, like The Matrix? And there's 2 of them in a theatre. I recognise that name.
It might be, but I think his website is jaysanalysis.com. And you know, I think
it's what's it called? Uncovered Hollywood or Undercover Hollywood, something. But I'm sure it's that guy. I really liked his series on Gaia. It was really good.
Well, I haven't seen that, but he's really good. I mean, he just gets really into the symbolism, the sex, the cults, the secret societies, the Aleister Crowley ritualism of everything and that kind of thing. So my review was really just to throw some thoughts out there because I think it's good for everybody to understand that the way our consciousness is manipulated, movies are a major part of that. And it's really important for us to understand this as we break out of the matrix, because the movies and TV are huge. I mean, they're 90% of it, you know, how this whole thing's held together.
Yeah. Well, it's the third person in the room, isn't it? The mainstream media is the third person in our lives, you know.
It's supposed to be the third estate, but it has not been for a long time. But you know, I think fundamentally, if anybody's watching this and wondering why we're talking about movies, my point of view is that symbols rule the world. okay? And symbols contain frequencies. If you live in London, you are surrounded by the underground symbol everywhere. It's everywhere, right? And that is based on Saturn, which carries a frequency. That frequency goes into your brain because your brain is a transceiver, and we are the creators, right? They know that about us. So they put these symbols and frequencies into us so that we then create the world based upon the inputs. And that's what fascinates me. But have I noticed anything new about the Batman? The answer's probably not. But what I have done is I've gone back and watched every Batman film ever made. I was just watching Batman Begins before you rang, just because, you know, this is so funny because on one hand, I love going to the movies and I like being entertained, and, you know, I like that experience.
Yeah.
You know, I love that experience. On the other hand, I've known for many, many years, and they control us through this. And, you know, sometimes it's really obvious.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot more subtle. And I thought the Batman was quite subtle compared to some of the really in-your-face propaganda that I've seen in the cinema over the last few years.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing when I do a review like that is really just repeating the conversation that I have in my car with my son on the way back from the cinema. Did you notice this? Did you notice that? I wonder what that meant. And it's not about having all the answers. It's just about saying there's much more to this, and it's much more interesting when you know that.
Yes. And I like the point that you brought up in your review, asking the question, is the Batman, this new film, a Q film, or does it have a lot of Q codes in it? And I believe it does. And that's what a lot of the things I noticed. And so I'm wearing this. Okay, so this is Back to the Future. Okay, for anyone that doesn't understand what this is. So when we talk numbers, gematria, simple gematria. Gematria is A equals 1 because it's the first letter. B is the second letter of the alphabet, so therefore equals 2. C is the third one, 3, etc., all the way through to Z, 26th letter, or Z. And you can add up the simple, but the most elegant and beautiful and powerful and complex in many ways versions and numerical values of words, places, film titles, characters, anything you want to, really. So some of the things I did see in this film, Mark, was in September I was in New York, and one of the scenes near the end, actually, there's so there might be some spoilers here, everyone. So if you haven't seen it, then look away now. If you don't want to see the teletext football results, look away now. But anyway, so
showing your age.
Exactly. There you go. So David Icke reading the results. Yeah. But anyway, so on grandstand. But so here, 88 miles per hour. 88. If you spell the word 88, it comes to Trump. Okay. And you made some great examples of why Trump is Batman, and I believe that he represents that symbol, that character of Batman. Because in the third Batman, you mentioned the Christopher Nolan series of Batman, and the third one, Dark Knight Rises, Wayne Tower is actually physically filmed in Trump Tower, and President Trump made a reference to that when the movie came out in 2012. And there's no hiding from the fact that the third Batman was filmed in Manhattan. Manhattan is 92, which is reverse. It's numbers, my nickname. It's also the Joker, which is, one of the main characters that goes against Batman. But in this one, as you pointed out, the Riddler is the main character, and there's a nice little piece with the Joker at the end. But going back to this, 88 miles per hour. So this is a reference from Back to the Future. Back to the Future, or going back to the future, is 228, which is the best is yet to come.
Oh, hey, what's on my mug?
There you go. The best is yet to come.
Total coincidence, because my son made this for me. I didn't even pick the mug. He just brought it in.
There you go. And he's Batman.
This always happens.
So this always happens, the synchronicity. So 88 is Trump, but then you've got MPH. You've got MPH, which is miles per hour. Miles per hour, actually, MPH comes to 37, which is senior. It also comes to the word like, so like Trump or Trump-like. But you add them together as 125, which comes to time travel, which comes to John Kennedy, which comes to the Q-post, dark to light. It also comes to superhero, which I just discovered yesterday. So superhero, which Batman, Superman, Robin, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, all of them superheroes. So it's a reference to people, that are shining their light in this this time of awakening. But towards the end of the film, you mentioned it in your review, there's a part where Madison Square Garden, which interesting enough is changed in the name of the film. In the film, it's called Gotham City. It's Gotham Square Garden, which is Madison Square Garden. Yeah. So it's interesting how they overlaid some of the famous places in New York, which is Gotham City in this version of the film, and they just inserted the word Gotham in because it changed the numerical value of the places. And like you said, Gotham is one of the characters in the film. But anyway, the road that Gotham Square Garden or Madison Square Garden in real life, which is a sports arena, they play basketball, boxing, MMA, all kinds of stuff in there, is on Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue is 125, is time travel, is 88 mph. So I thought, I've got to mention that because there's a correlation with that. But they changed Madison Square Garden, if you spell it out, comes to 205. 205 comes to, do you remember in Back to the Future, when Marty has the phone number, Jennifer Parker writes down the phone number on the back of a flyer which says save the clock tower.
Yeah.
And then when he's back in the past, in 1955, with Emmett Brown, they're saying, well, how can we get an alternate power source? And he pulls out the phone number and the back of he looks at the phone number, pulls it out, and then the actual poster, which is from 1985, says save the clock tower. And they're like, now there's going to be so that triggers that whole journey of going to the clock tower and setting up the end of the film where they go back in time because of the lightning strike, the storm. Anyway, 205 comes to save the clock tower. And I know this as well because it comes from the reference, the name from my grandmother, Eileen Mary Adelaide Wood. And President Trump has actually mentioned her in some comms. When I did my second episode with Charlie Ward back in 2020, and he would come out and talk on the tarmac of to the press, and you couldn't really hear it very well, but he'd do these little 2 or 3 minute clips. And I just did my second episode with Charlie, and he came out, and my nickname back then was just Numbers. I still say Tom Sidney Bushnell, aka Numbers, and then people kind of put it together and said Tom Numbers. So either is fine. But he came out and said on the 3 seconds in, he said, "Great job, Numbers." And I was like, And then on 43 seconds, my grandmother's name was Eileen Wood, but her compatriots, her sister, and her people of her generation would shorten it to I, and they just call it I Wood. And the press said to President Trump, on 43 seconds. And my grandmother and my grandfather lived in 43 Dovedale Close for most of their life. And he said, the press asked him a question, would you do such and such? And he went, I would. I was like, he just mentioned my nan. But my nan's full name, 205, is Madison Square Garden, which is Save the Clock Tower. So all of these things are weaved in. But when they changed the reference, when they changed the name of it to Gotham Square Garden, it comes to 194, which comes to 1955, which comes to September 11th, which comes to New Yorker Hotel. And New Yorker Hotel is literally a block away from Madison Square Garden, and they're both on Fifth Avenue, which is 125 time travel, which is the new Batman film.
Who lived in the New Yorker Hotel?
Nikola Tesla.
Where's the first place that I went to in New York in 1987? The New Yorker Hotel.
Exactly. There you go. So everything is all circulating on itself, Mark. All these things are there, and it's like, how on earth can you see that? Because somehow the like you talk about frequency and energies, we see all of that, and it's all coming to be. But I know, I was outside Madison Square Garden. There was an event the week I was there, or the 2 weeks I was there. There was an event. I didn't go into the event, but I saw everyone coming out. And I spoke to some people on the door, but literally, it's just it's just a stone's throw from the New Yorker Hotel, which is New Yorker Hotel 194, which is September 11th, which is 1955, and which is the time, the first time jump back to 1955.
Well, Jay's book here has a chapter on Back to the Future trilogy.
There you go.
And in the first paragraph, he says, what to say about Back to the Future? Well, it's already found its way into the conspiracy realm through the potential associations with 9/11 and predictive programming. I think it's possible that the film and its sequel are referring to 9/11, and the sequel certainly looks to be Trump as president. I think we've talked about that before, but I think this Trump as president thing is really clear in Back to the Future, very, very clear. But it's also the Batman link is so interesting because it's come up time and time again. And I think in my review, I played a clip from a news channel that went into depth about the similarities between Trump and Batman. And I think, but I've got to point out that to go back to your original question, there's one detail that I completely missed that thankfully people in the comments pointed it out. Loads of people pointed it out. And that is that the nightclub where the bad guys hang out, there's a nightclub within the nightclub. So Gotham is layers of hell, okay? And the nightclub within the nightclub is called 44 Below, the 44 Below Club, which of course...
And I've got it here. That's my second point. Do you know what it is?
It's Obama, isn't it? It's Barack Obama. He's the 44th president. I mean, there must be...
Yeah, he is. Yeah. There is. There's that. And there's also the word mask is 44. So as you'll see with this, Mark, so all numbers intrinsically, it depends on what you focus on. So, but the real power, well, they're all powerful, but there's
44,
always
44 is half of 88.
Exactly. It's half of 88, but it's also Abraham. So you've got the Abraham Accords. It's also faith. It's also hope. So you've got the whole faith and hope, etc. But also it is actually the word anon, and you spoke about anons in your last review. Yeah. And I was like, what's the numbers on that? And I hadn't done it for ages, so it refreshed my memory on it. But also, it's like, okay, so you've got 44th president, you've got masks, but at the same time, simultaneously, and that's the beauty of the film Tenet with Christopher Nolan, you've got things going in one direction, and you've also got the light working in the other direction. You're going dark versus light.
Well, yeah,
and that's what it is.
The Riddler and Batman in this are literal mirrors of each other.
They are.
And it's the same thing that happened to them as kids, but one went this way and one went this way. And they even down to the design of their masks, their nose piece is exactly the same, except one's green and one's black.
Yes.
And that was very interesting because this parallel, because I was wondering why choose the Riddler to launch your film? And the reason I say that is because the Joker is far more popular historically than the Riddler. So it was an interesting choice. And the anon bit came up in a social media thing the Riddler was doing towards the end of the film, and it was like in the corner of the screen it just said the word anon.
Yes.
Because on the second time of watching it, I'm watching it when I'm scanning the screen looking for these little things, because and it's, you know, until you've got it on a streaming service or a DVD, you can't really freeze frame it because you're just watching it in the cinema. So I'm sure there's tons more stuff in there, but yeah, that did pop up.
You talk as well about the Riddler and Batman and them being mirror reflections of each other. So the actor that plays Riddler is actually a guy called Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Now, Paul is 50, which is America. Paul, my cousin Paul that passed, I mentioned him before with the numbers, etc. But 50 is Donald. Dano, D-A-N-O, is 34, which is Grace, which is also Neo from The Matrix. The one. But it also, you add them together. So Paul Dano comes to 84, which comes to the Batman. So Paul Dano, the Batman, like you said, they're mirror reflections of each other. And it's the choice. It depends on people's heart. Everyone has a deck of cards that they're dealt with in life when they come in, probably karmically, I'd guess. But then you get to play the cards that you're dealt with, and people can choose to go towards the light or to the darkness. People have that choice, and that's a great example, with Batman and Paul Dano, the Riddler. They're mirror reflections of each other, but one chose one way, one chose another.
And it was also really interesting how the character of the Riddler, in his mind, was working as a team with Batman, and Batman was helping him to do all the things that he was doing.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize that Batman didn't think that. So you got this, it's like this split in consciousness where the good guys inadvertently help the bad guys or the demons achieve their stuff until the demons, I thought that's very, very interesting how that was done. Because also from a storytelling point of view, it was very good watching it, because you were with Batman thinking the Riddler's about to tell everybody that he knows he's Bruce Wayne, but the Riddler didn't know that.
Yeah.
but you didn't know to that point. You didn't know that. So that was really interesting as well. It was great storytelling. I mean, apart from anything else, cinematographer, music, direction, acting, performances, just top class, you know. But also, what's interesting about it is how it was delayed, because it's a bit like the Bond film. It was delayed, and this is not just because of COVID. Timing is everything. The film was ready, I think, a while ago.
Yes.
The same as the Bond film was I think at least 2 years delayed.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how much of this delaying thing is either consciously or not, or white hats or not, getting involved with the
It's deliberate, isn't it? I mean, it's asking what's the subtitle of the film? It's like Unmask the Truth. And what's the world been done for the last 2 years? They've all been masked up.
Yeah.
You know? And then some people will go, and some still won't get it. But hopefully over time, they will start to realize it's right there, you know, it's right in their face.
Well, that's what's so interesting about this sort of stuff, because I think everything's always, well, what did Q say? You have more than you know.
Exactly.
You have more than you know. So when I first read that in the posts, I was like, okay, that means we've just got to look at things that are around us.
Yes.
You know, just look at ordinary things rather than looking for fantastical things or, you know, or the next Intel drop, because it's already there, woven into this state of consciousness that we're in. Yeah,
it is. It's all there. It's totally there. That's what I mean. People say to me, "Oh, how do you do this, that, and with the numbers?" And in the early days, I would listen to President Trump every evening. I'd look at the Q posts. I'd be figuring out numbers, but always the third or fourth go-to. Well, yeah, I'd hear other things from people on channels, and then probably the biggest one, well, not biggest one, I mean, listening to President Trump every evening was just like revelation as far as I was concerned. But
same here.
Just walking around in my own reality, my own, you know, matrix construct, I was able to pick out gems from everywhere constantly, you know, and I was learning numbers. I was working them out in my head as I'm walking along, and I'm seeing something and noticing. I'm like, and it just, you know, the time was ready, I was ready, and it just started to come. And you're right, your own life, your own circumstances can teach you everything. If you're wanting to, it can teach you everything.
Well, you know, I was doing everything you were doing, but I was not doing the numbers, right? I don't have any idea how you do the numbers the way that you do them, right? But it's great. But what I was doing was forming poetry.
There you go. Yeah.
And I was just churning out poetry, and it's like, well, you know, we've all got our little tasks in this thing. And it all affects the consciousness. And there'll be people watching this going, "Oh, the numbers don't mean anything. Well, you guys are seeing things that don't exist." And that's okay, because it's all frequency matching. Because when I'm talking to you, I'm getting this frequency buzz all the way through my body, because I know that we're talking in a higher frequency than maybe an ordinary conversation about the Batman would be.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean we're right about everything. It just means it's a higher state of consciousness to be thinking about things like this.
Yeah. I think as well as when you go up, you know, from 3 to 5D, and then, you know, where's 4D? If you go on this upward trajectory of progressing through reality, you know, for want of a better phrase, I suspect as we get further into it, things like right and wrong are going to kind of become almost non-things. You know, everything, when you're in a higher realm, quote unquote, evil is not going to be able to exist anyway. It's not going to be a possibility. I think right and wrong is kind of a possibility of the 3D. But I think as we progress, everything is possible. I think everything that we dream about, everything that we conceive that is possible in a good sense, that is basically, you know, good to you as an individual, but also the collective. I think all those things are somehow possible, and I think that's where we're going. And so the best is yet to come. I believe that's the sense I get from it. You know, as we progress, it's like, oh, that's cool. You want to go and do this and discover this? Great, you know. And I think all things are really on the board as options and possibilities. I feel that's what it feels like to me.
Well, I agree, because in the last few months, despite being attacked left, right, and centre in many, many different ways, and people watch my channel, I talk about it, so I don't want to repeat myself. But what I have noticed is very specific things like psychic ability. My psychic abilities are going through the roof, and it's really subtle, but it's just like you think of someone, you know, you think of somebody, then they ring the phone. That kind of thing has just been happening all the time.
Oh,
Another thing I've been noticing is that if I think about something,
yeah,
and I go online, there's an advert for it. I haven't spoken about it. I've just thought about it. Right now, is that because our consciousness is already connected to the web? Because that is certainly one of the patents Facebook put out years ago, that they were uploading human consciousness to the web.
right.
Did that already happen? You know, and I also know, I'm pretty sure that whether it's a solar flare or just energies or this ascension process, I'm pretty sure our DNA, which is mainly 97% inactive, is going to be reactivated, and that reactivation is already happening.
Yes.
But it's subtle, and we had to be put into quarantine for it to start the process.
Yeah.
Because the awakening is also going to be extremely traumatic for a lot of people. I mean, what are we, 18, nearly two years into COVID?
Oh, 2 years into it, yeah.
Well, you know, this awakening for me has been going on for years. 30 years is when I first started to know something was wrong. And then I realized today, I was like, this is my whole fucking life. I've been obsessed with this thing for my whole life. And we're here to help those when because the trauma is going to be, they're just going to freak out when they find out the truth. But what I think is going to happen is when our DNA is fully active, I think one of the things that's going to happen is that we're all going to be able to access the Akashic records, and we're going to know who we were in previous incarnations. We're going to know who we killed, who we didn't kill.
You just read my mind.
Who killed us. We're going to know, but we're going to know how it feels to be wronged and to be murdered and all of this, which is how we create world peace. Because once we feel that, we won't ever want to do it to anybody, or we won't ever want it done to us. And I think this is why the ayahuasca journey I did about 5 years ago was, I was just stood up in front of this painting, and the painting became 3-dimensional, 5-dimensional, and it just kept throwing the word forgiveness for hours into my head, and that was the message I got through that particular brain portal that ayahuasca lets you go through. And
the only way, isn't it?
You know, that's why it's where we go when we go all, and nothing can stop what's coming. Because what I'm finding fascinating, I mean, you go back to what we were doing a year ago, or just over a year ago, and we were like, come on everybody, wake up. I even did a poem called Wake the Fuck Up, you know, trying to explain to people, look, this is all about adrenochrome and this stuff. And you know, and I don't, now I'm writing poems about people, you know, your soul, and how it's okay, you know, and everybody's part of this, you know, and nobody's better than anybody else. We're all equal. And isn't it much more interesting to be able to sit and chat about the potential symbolism in a film, you know, it's in the cinema, rather than just go down the pub and say, you like Catwoman's ass, let's get another pint, you know.
You talked about poem, so poet, you're a poet, so poet is 56, it's light, and poetry, you said poetry is 99, which is ascension, which is patriot. It's also Spider-Man. And Mark Poet comes to poetry 99, and then you talked about incarnation. So reincarnation is 141, which is Tom Bushnell, which is Looking Glass, and it's also Mark Atwood, 141. And also, I did a great episode just last week with Tara by Janine and Michael Jaco, and I had the chance to ask Janine about, because Jaco was talking about how he was Richard III in previous lives, and she was doing some readings on that, and that came out that was the case. And then I was like, because my initials TSB come to 41, which comes to King, comes to USA, comes to good, comes to alien, interesting enough. But anyway, I was like, and kingship 93, Bushnell. I was like, so was I a king of some description, Janine, or what, did I hang out with the king, and you know, was I one of his helpers? And I asked her the same question, and she was like, well, you know, she was a top kind of, you know, card reader, but also astrology and other things. And she was, working with, various kings throughout time. And anyway, she got gold. Yeah, she said, yeah, Celtic king. You're a Celtic king. And I did the numbers on Celtic king, and it comes to 93, which is Bushnell. So I did Tom Celtic king comes to 141. And then I thought of, well, Mark Atwood is 141. And I was like, I wonder if Mark was a Celtic king as well, because you're over there in Ireland, So maybe that's something we'll get to ask Janine in the future.
That is interesting, because I met a guy a couple of weeks ago who's descended from the line of kings and in Ireland.
Yeah.
And he said to me that I was part of the tribes here, and that because I'm a Farrell and a Jordan, my Irish ancestry, which is 100 years ago, really. But and I can't go any further back because all the records were destroyed in Limerick in the 1800s and stuff. But because they don't want us to know the past.
Limericks and poems.
Well, that's another funny thing. Yeah. I am a fan of a rhyme, to be honest.
Exactly.
And I am actually, and there's a reason for that. It's because the universe is rhythmical and musical. The whole universe is built on harmonic frequencies, which is why rhymes. This is why Shakespeare, who didn't write the plays, but those iambic pentameters and stuff like that, these things are harmonic frequencies, and they don't like that, which is the same as what they've done. They did the same with poetry. They did the same with modern art. They created all this crap, like sheeps carved in half in formaldehyde. That's totally satanic, right? And it's not art.
No.
This is art behind me. That's art. It's a painting. There'll be people watching this.
Yeah.
But that's again, this is down to the frequency, and I'm not saying that modern artists are all Satanists. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that these demonic frequencies, this demonic AI, this Wetiko is the other word of the week, which I've not got the book in front of me. Wetiko is I think a technology which has been used to create this grid that we live in, and it's that technology that's effectively being defeated by us, even though we're not completely aware of it, even though we're like babes in the dark and we're grappling with it. But there are high frequency beings on this earth that have been helping us. So it's not like what I think I'm learning is that it's not like we're waiting for a savior. We are the savior, because we're all part of that consciousness. It's all where we go when we go. Oh, that's what it means. It's like we are one consciousness, one love, and we're being. I think it's Bryce Watson who said we're all walking each other home. We're all, walking each other back home, which is beautiful, really. And it's all starting to make a lot more sense in a way that's still quite difficult to explain.
Yeah, you just hit on something there, Mark. So the next bit I was going to mention was you said the savior, but the savior is 138. It comes to revaluation. Comes to the pyramids, comes to Donald Trump. If you do the re-evaluation, so you add an extra, break RE, add an E to it, re-evaluation, that will come to 143. 143 comes to Melania Trump, comes to Ground Zero, comes to Building 7, and it comes to November 5th. And the next bit that I was just about to mention to you, going back to the film review of Batman, is that event that took place in Gotham Square Garden or Madison Square Garden on 125 8th Avenue time travel, 88 mph time travel 125. That happened in the film and they mentioned it, but it happened on the 5th of November.
Yeah, because that's right, because
the last one, when the redemption kind of happened, was on the 6th, when they were kind of looking at, seeing the kind of aftermath, was the 6th of November.
Yeah, because the film starts.
It's Halloween, isn't it?
Yeah, so it starts with a voiceover and it's like diary entries, and I really like that. He had a diary called the Gotham Project, and there were great words. I'd like to freeze frame the words that were highlighted in the film because they were very quick. But I noticed certain phrases Batman was writing to himself, like must try harder or never give in, or work harder on yourself. It was like they were, I think they were spiritual messages to us about this situation, because there's a huge amount of people that I've got to know the same as you have through this process.
Yeah.
A lot of them have found the last, I don't know, the last month in particular, really tough going. Like, why are we still doing this? What's the point? Should I give up? Blah, blah, blah. I've noticed that from a lot of people. And the message, I think the message is very clear: never give up. And this is one of Donald Trump's best speeches, the one where he says, "Never, ever, ever give up."
Exactly.
And that's what I'm seeing. But maybe again, this is the frequency matching thing, where you're seeing what your own consciousness wants to see.
Yes.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's like,
no, you're the creator.
We are the creators, and we have to watch our words. We have to watch how we charge up our words with emotion. I've been teaching the law of attraction for years, and where everybody got it wrong with The Secret years ago, when it was at 13 years ago, because it basically had millions of, because they went on Oprah, which really is a big red flag looking back on it, but obviously we didn't know about Oprah back then. When they went on Oprah, suddenly had millions of people buy this book and DVD and having cork boards in their kitchens covered in pictures of Ferraris and houses with palm trees and all that kind of shit. But they were all living, it was all up here.
Yes.
It wasn't coming from the gut. And that emotional power is the thing that really charges up the words, which is also exactly how something like Sigil magic works. Okay, so Sigil magic is all about symbols, again, back to the symbolism, being charged with energy. In Crowley's sort of teachings, that would be charged with sexual energy, but you can charge these symbols with whatever energy you want. Sexual energy is particularly powerful, which hence all the porn and all that shite that they've been shoving into our faces for years and years now, especially in the kids now, which still makes me, this is the thing that really concerns me about winning this battle, because I can't stand to see another child corrupted. Yeah,
it's happening, Mark. It is. It's happening. And even when you say like they're going to be shot, they are going to be shot, but they prepared for this. They know. So at the same time, if something comes down, simultaneously something goes back up. Just like that building in the Tenet film, they destroy a building simultaneously as it's recreated at the same time. It's a brilliant piece of cinematography. I'm like, so everything as it crumbles, it's also being recreated at the same time. Yeah. And that's what's happening, I believe, with all of this. And you mentioned the Gotham project. So Gotham is 64, which is Tenet, which is also movie, which is also Israel. And dare I say it, Zion. I mean, they're Zionists. I don't mean that. I mean Zion, like some beliefs Zion is a pure in heart, or the pure in heart. But project is 87, which is Truth, which is Junior, which is Stellar as well. One of Christopher Nolan's films was Interstellar. But if you do that, if you do Gotham Project, that's 151, which is Jesus Christ, which is the Jasara Reset, which is Drain the Swamp. It's also Lady Diana Spencer. But if you do the Gotham Project, it's 184. I think that's what you said. It was called the Gotham Project. That's the fifth dimension. And so it's interesting, fifth dimension is 151, Jesus Christ, Drain the Swamp, the Jasara Reset, Lady Diana Spencer. So there's a whole bunch of those, but I think it's incredible. And this was something I wanted to say as well about, I said that about the date of November 5th. But there was another part in the movie. So I don't know if you caught this, but there was some humorous bits as well. So you got Andy Serkis, who is Alfred. And did you notice that they said they've got Andy Serkis, and now Serkis is spelled different. I think it's Serkis or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's pronounced Serkis. And he's there talking to Wayne, we're talking to Bruce, and he's saying, yeah, this is from the circus. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little trinket, so Andy Serkis talking about the circus, which I thought was just a nice little kind of fun bit that they put in the film. But you talked about the leather mask. So you made a real detailed observation of that. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that is a leather mask. But leather is 69, which is checkmate, which is also financial. It's also people. Now you can see how many kind of offshoots of thought come with that. Mask, as I said, is 44. So if you do leather mask, it comes to 113, which comes to trumpet, comes to universe. Interesting enough, comes to Kobe Bryant, and I did a piece with Janine and Rachel just last week on that. I think he'll be coming back at some point, but we'll see. Time will tell. But if you make that plural, you do leather masks, because you made the comparison that Riddler had a leather mask and also Batman. They were very similar. That comes to 132, which comes to Princess Diana, and it also comes to JFK. JR is alive. That's 132. And I don't know if you noticed this. Mark Kermode did when he opened his reference to the film. When I saw all the rain, it just made me feel like I was in Blade Runner, because it just kept constantly raining, you know? And it was like, I feel like I'm in Blade Runner. And Blade Runner is 114, which is frequency, which is sovereign, which is also trump card. But if you add them together, if you do Batman, or the Batman plus Blade Runner, you get, guess what you get? You get 198. Oh, I should have said before, the Batman is 84, which is an alien. The word Batman is 51, and you've got the whole thing of Area 51. You know, what is that about? And that's kind of in and also the Batman is 84, which is Arizona, and Area 51, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's kind of close to the border of Arizona, Nevada, somewhere around that area. But 84 is an alien. Arizona, I had my kind of first light disclosures on things in the sky that happened in Arizona, you know, and it's kind of known for those things. But and you've also got the whole thing with, you know, with Arizona, with what's gone on and how that will get reversed. But going back to this, so if you do Blade Runner 114 trump card plus the Batman 84, comes to 198, which comes to President Trump. It comes to the resurrection. It comes to Statue of Liberty, which is a big feature in that Spider-Man film not long ago. And interesting, it's gone from copper, like a copper oxide, to this kind of golden looking thing. And golden is 57, which is Tesla. And all the portals and dimensions. And I think there's going to be a big thing at that point of Statue of Liberty. Governor's Island, where Steve Bannon did the whole thing of the Chinese New Republic and talked about peace on Earth for 1,000 years. And then also World Trade Center. You know, it's all within that kind of, that's a hotbed for energy. And that's where I got my first number experience back in 2015. But also, it comes to calm before the storm. So Blade Runner 114 trump card plus the Batman 84 comes to 198, which is calm before the storm. So again, there was a lot of thoughts and numbers and connecting the dots that came just from those two things. And I don't know if you noticed this as well in the one of the opening scenes. There's a police car that comes along, and I think who does it hit? It either hits.
It hits the guy in the pumpkin in the garlic.
That's head. It. Yes, it does. Just doesn't it? But that number on the bonnet of that car was 241.
I was specifically thinking about, I've got to spot the numbers on t-shirts and because Tom will spot those. I missed that one. What did it say? Which one?
The 241 is President JFK's 241. The 241st day of the year is August 29th. In Terminator 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he's playing the good Terminator, is saying on August 29th, 1997, blah, 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 Skynet is activated. Skynet is 94, John. And there's an RV in that shot as well. There's an RV, you know. But also 241 is in Tenet, the film Tenet. So when they're going for the plutonium 241, and there's this whole thing with Ukraine and this nuclear scare event, you know, it looks like it's all going to go to doomsday, but it doesn't. It gets stopped just in time. But the 241 is President JFK, and also, my correction, President John F. Kennedy is 241. But also they say the word plutonium, which is in Back to the Future as a power source for time travel. 141 is Looking Glass. But if you remember earlier, 141 is Mark Atwood, 141 is Tom Bushnell, 141 is Reincarnation, and it's also Looking Glass. But the woman in Tenet says the plutonium 241. She says it a number of times. Plutonium is 141 and 241. You add them together, comes to 382, which comes to 88 miles per hour. Time machine. Because 282 is 88 miles per hour when you spell it out. But if you add time machine, that's 100. So it takes you to 382, which is plutonium-241. So I saw that on the bonnet of the car. But then there was another one that popped up later. I think it was around when the Penguins kind of crash thing happened. There was another police car with 237. That's another significant number. But anyway, I could go on and on about the numbers that I saw in there. But this is a real interesting one. So going back to the whole thing of Back to the Future. If you do November the 5th, yeah, let me get this. So I just want to double check that I've done that right. Yes. So November the 5th, or November 5th, 1955 is when Doc Brown invented time travel. We know that from the Batman movie that this whole thing of Madison Square Gardens, 205, Save the Clock Tower, happened in the Batman film, on November 5th. That was when this kind of destruction thing happened. The day after is the kind of calming moment, which is, November 6th. And November 6th, let me check I've done this right. Okay. So November 6th is 174. So if you do November 6th, 174, that actually comes to, well, it comes to what President Trump and Melania had on the escalators when they came down, when they announced their presidential campaign. That was 5 days after I met Ivanka in person on June 11th. June 11th, 2015. June 11th comes to 141. Comes to plutonium. It comes to Reincarnation. It comes to Mark Atwood. It comes to Tom Bushnell. 141, and that's the day I met her. 5 days later, 16th of June, President Trump and Melania come down the steps. But the very first graphic, the very first number, very first letters code that they give you, currency exchange 174. 174 is trust the plan. So that film ended, the Batman film ended on November 6th, which is the 174th day of the year. And no, that's not 174th day of the year. Sorry, what am I saying? No, it's not. It comes out as that. It comes out. So November, here we go.
300 and...
No, yeah, no, it's not. It's not that. It's 310. The 310th day of the year comes to the quantum financial system, which is 310. That's the day after. So once everything's crashed and the destruction and Batman's got the torch out and saved the day, the 310th day of the year. But that also has a reference to Malachi 3:10 in the Bible. Malachi is 44, which is Anon, which is Abraham, which is Mask. But the quantum financial system is 3:10. But November 6th. So let me just do this here. That's what it is. Sorry. So November 6th is purely 174. So that was it. It wasn't the day of the year. I crossed my wires there. But so November 6th. So you go from November the 5th, which is 176, which is Back to the Future. All the destruction, everything happens. And then the calm day, and they tell us, this is why they're telling us in the film, they're telling us that day. They say, oh, it's on November 6th. So November 6th is 174, which is currency exchange, which is at the top of the escalators. And here, you all know this, the Trump Tower 169, the Great Awakening 169, Robert Zemeckis, the director and writer of Back to the Future 169, Tiffany Trump 169. One way of saying my name, Thomas Bushnell 169. You'll know that it's on Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue comes to 117, which comes to Rushmore, comes to Jackie Kennedy. It also comes to, if you do Gematria in a real kind of heavy way, you've got ... So you've got 125, which is 88 plus MPH comes to 125, which is 8th Avenue, where the Tesla building is. But on Trump, well, not Trump Avenue, but Trump Tower is on 5th Avenue, which is ... That's 39, 39, 39. The word 39, well, the word dot is 39. Times it by 3, 117. So you add them together. So both of those pivotal streets are in this T-shirt. So I thought I had to wear it.
Oh, there's so much about that number. Got going back to what you said about the rain. So
Rain, yeah,
so
purple rain.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also the colors in this film, but we'll come back to them. But the water there wasn't a scene in this film where it wasn't wet.
Yes.
And the big, and well, the thing that was happening at the end is that, you know, they're all about to drown. You know, the whole city goes underwater. And I was thinking, watch the water. Cue for that. Well, do you get any numbers around that?
Yes. So water is 67, which is exchange, which is reset. So if we think, I don't know, but they were kind of, I mean, I've got a few dates perhaps when the reset could kind of really kind of happen. I think there's a few on the board that kind of point out to me, but one of them perhaps is this whole thing of November 5th. I mean, even in our culture, you know, remember the 5th of November, you know, there's all that. And then Back to the Future, you know, Emmett Brown, 148, Simple Gematria, 148, Donald John Trump, 148, Time Traveler, 148. He says, November 5th, 1955. It's the day I invented time travel. So November 5th is that key point where the destruction happens in Batman with the water. And water is 67, which is exchange, which is reset. So it's pointing to me like this kind of, you know, again, it's this whole double thing of like, it's almost at the point of no return, everything's just a catastrophe, but at the same time, there's a light in the darkness, and Batman does that when he, you know, holds a torch, rescues people, takes them out. Even makes me have visions of kind of 9/11. Yeah, you know, like they're under there. Maybe people were rescued in ways that we didn't know in 9/11. I think perhaps because the reason I say that is they changed the name of that film, of that place. So it was Madison Square Garden, but they called it Gotham Square Garden, which is 194, which comes to New Yorker Hotel, but it also comes to September 11th. And Batman performs a rescue there. You know, Trump, Jasara, 51, Batman, 51, performs a rescue. And maybe, let's hope, maybe everything is not as we think, Mark. And I believe that there's a power of good that keeps going through it, you know.
Well, that's 100% true. Nothing is what it seems, but I'm just running on intuition with everything, and
that's it. It's intuition. It's feeling what it is and putting things out and just seeing what happens, you know. But the other thing as well about 174 is also Luke Skywalker. It's trust the plan. So 174, November 6th. And they make a point of that.
My car alarm's going off. It's just gone off for no reason. So I'll just give me one.
It's confirming because Luke
Don't
Skywalker.
turn it off, mate.
Just time travel. So yeah,
you'll drive the neighbours mad. You won't want to pause.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, 88 miles per hour, 88 mph is time travel 125. Or if you spread out, if you write every single word, 88 miles per hour is 282, which is transition to greatness. President Trump has spoken about that. And the magic number for time travel is 88, which comes to Trump. So anyway, I thought I'd throw a few numbers in there while Mark rescues his car from the neighbours. There you go, buddy.
Oh, that's just so funny that happened while we're recording, because that's been happening only in the last few weeks. It just goes off for no reason.
Could have been a good com. You know.
Well, while I'm being communicated with, if people haven't watched me before, I've been communicating with the stars a lot, and I've had a lot of communications in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Or confirmations, like they're kind of the message is kind of like, don't worry, it's all good. It's all good.
Yes.
And thank you, and you know, it's all good. And that's the message I'm getting. So.
And I think, I was just talking about the escalator, 174, but that's Luke Skywalker. Luke is 49, yes. And Skywalker's 125 again, which is time travel, which is 8th Avenue, where that took place at the end of that film. You know, so all these great films, there's been other things in some of them. I don't think they're putting them in them now. But at the same time, there was always goodness in them as well. There was always this counter move within everything. And it's finding those gems. And Star Wars is 119, which is Nikola Tesla, you know. They're everywhere, Mark. You know, they're everywhere. Yeah. You made a real point. So I think what was her name? Kravitz. What was her first name?
Oh, Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe. she stole the show. I didn't know who she was.
She was brilliant. I met her dad, 1988.
Now, I've got a question, and I think it might be one that we have to delve in. I'm going to ask Janine about it at some point. But I had a feeling, and this is just a hunch, this is just what, whatever. So did you see, before lockdown, there was a film with Adam Sandler in it. It went straight to kind of Netflix, but they did some...
If it had Adam Sandler in, I probably didn't watch it.
Okay, yeah. Now, the dad character in the Batman film, what's his name? What was the character's name? Corleone? When she confronts her dad, what was his name?
Falcone.
Falcone, yeah. So there's a character in this Adam Sandler film that was very similar to this Falcone guy, the way he talked and everything, and the way Adam Sandler was portraying this character. And it was a serious character. But anyway, at the end of this Adam Sandler film, he got shot in the face. He just got shot in the face at this kind of jewelry heist thing. Things caught up with him and he got shot in the face. Also, you'll probably remember this because you referenced it. The Joker film.
Yeah.
Had Robert De Niro in it.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro got shot in the face as well by the Joker.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at this thing with Zoe Kravitz. And I don't know. Lenny Kravitz could well be her dad. Could well be. I don't know. But the way that she kind of almost stole the show in that film, and that kind of reveal, the guy that was playing her dad reminded me very much of this character of Adam Sandler in the other film that was, a couple of years ago. And the comparison of Adam Sandler getting shot in the face, Robert De Niro getting shot in the face. And I looked at their numbers on some, what's that?
What did I just say? I said I met her dad in 1988. I just completely.
Exactly. Yeah. And she was born in 1988, I believe.
Well, how many years ago is that? I think she's about 24.
So I've got it here. So where is it?
That'd make her 30 something.
Yeah. So I did it before. Here it is. I've got it here. So I think if I remember rightly. Oh, also interesting, Wizard of Oz is 176.
She was born December the 1st, 1988.
Yes. And if you do her name, where did it go? So if you do Zoe Kravitz, so Zoe Kravitz is, Zoe's 46, which is best. Kravitz is 107, which is trumps, which is quantum. And that comes to 153, which comes to Galactic Federation. It's one of the values it comes to. And then she's born in 1988, as you said. And if you do 19 plus 88, because that's the way you say it, you say 1988. So 88 plus 19 comes to 107, which comes to Kravitz. And then if you take it further, and I think December 1st actually is when she's born, if I've got that right.
Yeah, December 1st, yeah.
Yeah, that comes to 127, comes to the Ace of Spades. And then you've got Robert De Niro, and his value actually comes up to 143. 143 comes to November 5th, as we've been talking about. And so, they know the powerful numbers. And then Adam Richard Sandler comes to 153, which comes to Zoe Kravitz. And the difference in ages of them, I think what is she? She 30, I've got it. Where is it? I think she's 33. I think Adam Sandler's 55. So if you add 33 plus 55, it comes to 88, which is Trump. And then currently, De Niro is age 78, which is Kennedy. So I don't know. It's just a thought of things that came into my head, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. I mean, was she? I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering whether is she. Hopefully, she is just purely from Lenny, and she may well be, but maybe she was with someone else, and they gave it to Lenny because she could be protected in that way. I don't know, but the numbers and the correlation of the names and the dates and everything else, and the way she stole that film, just kind of pointed me to something. So that's one I definitely would like to ask Janine about. Is there a connection between those people? You know,
well, they're all connected, aren't they? We know nothing.
No, nothing. Oh, talking of that, I didn't realise until you. I had no idea who the Penguin was. He reminded me of a certain religious leader. Actually, he reminded me of the head of the Mormon Church, Monson, a long time ago.
That's
well, not a long time ago, two prophets ago. But
that's weird. I've just realised something. Because I told you my Irish ancestral names are Jordan and Farrell.
Yes,
he's Colin Farrell, and I didn't even. I've never mentioned that before in my life.
There you go. No, and I met Colin Farrell. I met him at the premiere of Killing of a Sacred Deer, and Barry Keogh's in it. I think that Barry Keogh might be related to Ian McKellen. I don't know, but they look very similar in my opinion. Yeah, Colin Farrell. I had no idea. I don't think anyone did. Mark Commode didn't. He didn't know.
No, well, if you went into that film not knowing,
you're like, who's that? And it just looks like a completely new face. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, but he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether I was stretching at this, but I said, I wonder why those. If you look back, other Batman films or any movies in the last 50 years, prosthetics have often been good, and CGI has been good, but it's never been perfect. You're always knowing that you're watching somebody in a mask, or you're watching CGI created character. Like when they did Peter Cushing as the Grand Moff Tarkin in the Star Wars film, it was like, oh look, we can do this. But I'm like,
it's like watching Grand Theft Auto in space, wasn't it?
Yeah. But when I watched that at the movies, I was like, what are they doing? I know that you can do better than that.
Yeah.
So they made it deliberately bad.
Yeah.
So that you wouldn't know. And I'm just wondering whether this whole mask thing with Colin Farrell, which was beyond perfect, it was, you just wouldn't know that was Colin Farrell. You just wouldn't know. And I'm taking that as a or as a preparation, because the world is about to see lots of people have their masks taken off, because you're
going to unmask the truth.
Yeah, exactly. It's unmasking exactly, and it's all about this. That I think it was Charlie Freak that first said to me that it was going to be like a Scooby-Doo moment. We've got this Scooby-Doo moment where I think they're literally going to be on
Scooby-Doo moment 166. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if Joe Biden's on TV and he's handcuffed and they pull his mask off and it's Jim Carrey. I mean, just imagine, and Trump going, if it wasn't for you pesky kids. I mean, could it be that? Could it be that crazy? Could it be?
I think it could be, because one of my favorite films as well growing up was Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And if I remember rightly, I was age 17 when that came out.
Excellent. Excuse me, baking powder.
String. Foxy.
Wing.
Yeah. Now look at this. So you've got Wayne's World, and in Batman, particularly, you've just seen it in the Dark Knight, in Batman Begins. You've got Wayne Tower.
Well, it's Bruce Wayne's world.
Which Bruce Wayne's world? Oh, Bruce Wayne is also 117, which is Fifth Avenue, which is ... which is Rushmore.
Yeah.
So that's another one I forgot to put in. But you've got Wayne. So you've got Wayne's World. You've got Wayne Tower in Batman, and then in reality, you've got Trump Tower.
Yeah.
And you've got Trump's world.
Yeah.
We're in Trump's world, Yeah. And it's
Trump's got his own plane. His own helicopter.
We're in that Trump movie, It's like we're all in the shared movie, but it's like, and then, like you say, the Scooby-Doo reveal, and it's like, I think they could well be. I think they could well be.
I mean, we could all do with a laugh after all of this, but
oh yeah. Well, they say the best is yet to come,
Well, I know it is, but here's the problem. The problem with that line, which I wrote a poem about, which you can read on there. It's very too small for a mug, but the problem with that line is that people come back and say, yeah, but people have died. I lost my granddad, I lost my dad. I mean, it's been really tough. People have been through this massive isolation and loneliness, and people have lost their businesses, family, friends, the whole thing. Whichever side of the coin you're on, there's been a lot of loss and pain through this process. So I think it would be a little bit insensitive if it was just like, all the world leaders on the stage, and they all took their masks off, and then they were shot, sent to Gitmo, and it'd just be a bit too frivolous, unless there is a major miracle coming when everybody's resurrected.
That's happening, Mark. People are going to get resurrected.
That's something that I've got. I felt that. And I've been scared to say it out loud because it does sound so fantastical. People are just
it's true, though. It is true.
They already think we're nuts anyway, so who cares? I mean, I get that feeling, and I've said a few times, I get this strong feeling that there is going to be a scare event. There is going to be a thing which just gets everybody's attention.
Yes.
And then I think we're all going to, when we ascend, and I've been trying to work out what ascension means for over a decade, right? What does 5D mean? What does it look like, feel like? But we are already on the way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are starting to realize this, and it is starting, and it's bringing this massive wave of optimism in me. But I've been calling myself an apocalyptimist for quite a long time, because I love that word. And I had the choice of taking my own life 3 or 4 years ago, and I chose not to, because I was told that this was happening, and I had something to do here. And
well, you had to do podcasts with me, didn't you? So I'm glad you know.
Yeah. Like, we're not that fucking.
I'm glad you could hang around.
Yeah, well, so am I. And I'm very
No, but in all seriousness, it's great that you're still here, buddy, for sure. Of course.
Thanks, but it's just been there's so many amazing things that have happened, and people that have met, and when people are sat there saying all the negative things, I can see and feel all of that, but I've got such a strong feeling of optimism.
Yes.
That in a way, and this is not meant to be trivial, but in a way, a lot of that stuff doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know is going to annoy some people, but I just feel that I think it's going to be so good.
Yes.
We're going to have a completely different perspective on what it means to be human.
Yes.
What it means to be alive. That's so radically different from this caged animal version of humanity that we've been in.
Yes.
That's my feeling. I hope I'm right.
It is. Well, I've been feeling that about the resurrection for a while. And I think one of the markers, one of the Gematria markers, but physical markers, is the Statue of Liberty. And people say, oh, that was, all kinds of things. But I believe everything is going from dark to light. And I think part of the Spider-Man film that I'm sure you'd have seen, were showing us, and and you said the word human, which is Tesla, which is 57, which is golden, and that Statue of Liberty was golden. The reason I say Statue of Liberty is because it's 198, which is calm before the storm. It's also President Trump, it's President J. Kennedy, but it's also the resurrection. Resurrection is 165, Westminster 165, Christ Bloodline 165, Remote Viewing 165, The Visionary 165, which is the title of President Trump's painting in Mar-a-Lago, and I saw it physically. And I did a little video of it on my channel.
Yeah, but, is that the one where he's dressed as the Fifth Doctor?
Yes, that's it. Now you see, and this is what happened. So I was just about to mention that. So there's a connection between the resurrection, Vladimir Putin, Nikola Tesla, Doctor Who, Star Trek, and JFK.
Yep.
So JFK, you're the one that told me this. Not a lot of people know that.
Not a lot of people know that.
Not a lot of people know that. You just gave me a bit of Michael Caine. So I was like, I've got to do a lot of people know that. And then Rachel, we're going
to do Michael Caine. We're going to be, you got to do the deep voice to Alfred. Some people just want to watch the world burn, Master Bruce.
Exactly. Yeah.
I missed the shouty mark. Imagine him doing that when he was 30. Some people just want to watch the world burn, Master Bruce. That wouldn't have worked as well, would it? Anyway, sorry, I'm going off subject.
And he looks more and more like my dad. My dad looks very much like Alfred, and he didn't in his younger years, but now as he's matured into an older gentleman, he does remind me of Alfred and Michael Caine. But anyway, so November 22nd.
Yeah.
22 is MAGA.
Hang on. Why did you say November the 22nd?
You'll see.
Hang on. That's the date. That's the date my dad died.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's the day that JFK died.
I know. And then November 23rd was when Doctor Who was born, but they had to repeat it the following week because everybody was watching the news about JFK in 1963.
Exactly, and that's what you gave me with this. So I've been holding this for a while. I've done little pieces of it, but now that we're here and I'm talking to Michael Caine in person, I can reveal this. I can reveal this. So if you do November, which is 94, which is John, which is Skynet, which is White Hat. So November 22nd. So 20 is 107, which is currency, which is Trump's, which is military, which is Superman, which is quantum, which is Kravitz, as we've just discovered. Third is Joker, 59. So November 23rd comes to 260. November 23rd in 1963, as you've pointed out to me before, 1963 are the Tesla numbers, you know,
963.
Yeah, 963. So November 23rd comes to 260, and it happened on a Saturday. So JFK was on a Friday. Friday actually comes to the word, well, the word Friday comes to 63, it comes to 11. JFK did that 11-11-0 silver order not long before that. And it was in 1963 that JFK passed. But the day after, when Doctor Who came out, was a Saturday. Saturday is 109. Saturday is Zapruder. 109 is Diana Spencer. 109 is YouTube. 109 is my channel, Psych.Club. 109 is 17. But you add that to, so you do November 23rd, Saturday, November 23rd. Just say Saturday, November 23rd comes to 369, the Tesla numbers. And Doctor Who came out that day, but it had to be brought out, you know, the following Saturday. But take it further. So if you do President Vladimir Putin comes to 278, which comes to the currency revaluation. Now the Star newspaper, which everyone thinks is kind of the worst paper, but it's actually the most truthful one because they can tell you in memes and suggestions and pictures and comedy and cartoons.
Yeah.
They've been talking about UFO stuff for the best part of 2 years. Every few weeks they come up, and they've been talking about Putin. And they were doing pictures of Putin dressed as Captain Kirk from Star Trek.
Are they?
Yes. This is all before the invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, sorry, there was no invasion of Ukraine.
Okay, exactly. So, but they were making references to Star Trek. Star Trek has the same symbol, the arrow,
The Space
as
Force.
Space Force. Space Force is 91, which is POTUS, which is future, which is liberty. Going back to the Space Force, we're going back to the future, going back to POTUS. But if you do...
Isn't it funny?
But if you add those together, President Vladimir Putin, 278, the revaluation, the currency revaluation, plus Space Force, it comes to 369. And then if you do Captain, let me get this right, I think it's Captain James T. Kirk plus USS Enterprise comes to 369. And there's another one as well. What was it? The other one I said? Oh, yes. You talk about the resurrection. Okay. So the revaluation is 171, which is a bolt of lightning. And Doc Brown says, a bolt of lightning. A bolt of lightning. Says it twice, you know. Says it a few times, but he says it twice in quick succession, just like Trump does when he does important comms. But Statue of Liberty, 198. 198, the resurrection, plus the revaluation comes to 369. The resurrection is true, Mark. I believe it's going to be a combination of probably Tesla technology and other stuff, divine, spiritual, universal truth. And that's going to reverse all kinds of nonsense that's happened.
It's going to
it's going to be biblical.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, my bedtime is approaching, so
I'll let you have your supper, Michael Caine, but it's been a pleasure. And there's a whole load of other Batman stuff, but maybe we'll do part 2 in a couple of weeks or something, once I've had a chance to watch it again.
I think we could do about 10 hours on Batman generally.
I think we could.
The deeper you go into it, the more there is.
Yes. Well, Batman plus Robin. Batman is 51 Jasara. Robin is 58 Nasara. Add them together. What have you got? You've got 109. Daily Star, which is the name of that newspaper that's telling the truth. Daily's 51 Batman. Star 58 Nasara, Ivanka. XRP, add them together as 109, 17. And that's the first code I got with the numbers. I did get the code when I met Ivanka, and then my cousin had died, and I met these two girls with the same date of birth as Paul, 118 The Storm. One might have even been 119 as well, Nikola Tesla. But I knew something was going on back in 2015, and then Trump comes down the escalators, literally kind of, I think, the day after I'd left, or the day I was leaving New York to another part of the US. But anyway, early lockdown in 2020, March 2020, I'm listening to President Trump. Boris says the key to the coronavirus puzzle is to stay indoors. What can you do indoors? You can watch TV or you can study and you can research. Something pointed me to look up Diana's funeral, the start time of her funeral service.
I remember, yeah.
Was 908, 9 plus 8, 17. 17, you spell it, comes to 109, which comes to Jasara, which comes to Nasara, add them together. Batman, Robin.
And the numbers are crazy. I can't remember if we talked about this before. I remember watching Mark Devlin about a year ago, and he was talking about picking up on the fact that his birthday, so the first two, if you write your birthday out as 6 numbers, right? Date, month, year.
Yeah.
The date and the month, he said his birthday added up to 17.
Ah.
And I was driving along listening to this, going, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And then I went, hang on, I was born on the 13/1304, 17.
Well, there you go. And
I was
do
like,
they all add up to 17?
The fuck? Well, 13 plus 4 is 17. And I was like, that's how he was explaining to add it up. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? What's your birthday?
So, well, mine's 15th of February. So 15 plus 2 comes to 17.
I knew it was. I knew it would be. I knew it. As soon as it came into my head, I thought, I bet his birthday adds up to 17.
Yeah.
How mad is that's a good.
Get this.
What?
So 75. I'm born in 1975. So if you add 17 plus 75, 75 is a magic wand. Well, magic wand, funding, eternal, Contact, the great film with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. But you add those together, 17 plus 75 comes to 92, which is numbers, which is reverse, which is the Joker, the trump card. 92 is Manhattan. That's where I met Ivanka. That's where I got my first kind of, somehow she switched me up. She activated me. And it all started to go from there.
Hang on. I'm going to do the maths on this. What's 17 plus 69?
That would be
86.
86. Oh, Mark, I'm liking this.
What's that? What's 86?
Well, I'll tell you. So tell me what's the significance of that question for you?
That's my full 130469.
Well, we're coming up to the 86th day of the year. The 86th day of the year is March 27th. So next Sunday. If you spell out March, if you do 27th, okay. So March is 43, 27th. March 27th comes to 243. 243 comes to Queen Elizabeth II. It comes to someone in the movement that has got a full name. And he kind of pointed me to a little bit, comes to 243. Another one, I just mentioned my cousin Paul passing. If you do, he died on March 31st. So, May 31st. So if you do 31st, that's 172, which is actually hyperinflation. But then if you add May, which is 39, and then if you add, where is that? No, that's not that. If you do, and then if you add a Friday, that was it. Sorry, if you add a Friday, not Friday, Sunday. So if you do 243, so you do March 27th plus Sunday, which is next week. Sunday is 84, which is the Batman, which is Arizona. That comes to 327. 327, the way you even write it is 3/27. So March 27th comes up to 327. May 15th, May 31st as well comes up to 327 if you do it right. I'm trying to remember what it was. I had it in my notes before. But anyway, it's very significant. You said 86. 86 is a power number. 86 is the word 19 when you spell it. And 107 always talks about, you know, the power number of 19. And 86 also comes up to Arthur, like King Arthur. But anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Video's gone.
I just had a little sign there, yeah. So let's just see what happens. But I think it's going to be significant when Betty Windsor passes, whenever that is. But I think once we look back at it, we'll see the numbers and be like, that's why they did it then. There's another one as well. So Operation London Bridge is 232. You see what that is. So 327 take away. That was it. So I believe, if I've worked it out correctly, when's May 31st happen this year, Mark? Yeah, is it on a Tuesday this year? Let me just check.
I don't know. I don't have a calendar in my head.
I don't either. I was just looking. I wonder if you had it there. Yeah, it is a Tuesday. So that's the word Tuesday is 95, which is emergency, but it's also the Queen 95. So Operation London Bridge is the code name for when the Queen passes, the whole kind of pageantry and ceremonial, you know, that will kick into place. And I've heard that could even be 10 days worth of it. I don't know, but I've heard that might be part of it, maybe 10 days. 10 Days of Darkness is 233 John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Follow the White Rabbit, the gold-backed digital currency. But if you do, so yeah, 10 days on from March 27th is a Sunday. 10 days later would take you through to a Tuesday, which would be Tuesday's 95, which is the Queen. And I don't know, but there seems to be a few dates kind of popping up. I think maybe the 27th, March 27th, maybe even May 31st. And they're all linked. And there's probably a 20% of what I haven't explained fully because my notes are on the phone. But nevertheless, there's a few things to do with that. That was it. Yeah. So here, yeah. So that was it. So 232 is Operation London Bridge, because London Bridge is 119, which is Nikola Tesla. Operation is 113, makes you think of election, 11-3 or 311, trumpet as well. Nikola Tesla trumpet, 232, Operation London Bridge. But 232 plus 95 takes you to 327. So 327 is Sunday, March 27th. And even if you just spell it, 327, Sunday, March 27th, the way you could write it is 3/27, which would be March 27th. But there's a number that correlates to March 31st, I believe. May 31st, I believe, that comes up to 327 as well, but I can't remember fully what it is. But anyway, and also May 31st is also a Tuesday, which Tuesday's 95. And if Betty Windsor was to go on the 27th of March, and it is 10 days later, then the funeral would be on April 5th. April 5th is the end of the financial year, because April 6th is the new financial year, and it's a Tuesday. 95 is the Queen, the shot, emergency. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting you brought that up. But 86, the 86th day of the year, 86 is March 27th, which is next Sunday. So we'll see. It could be not the case, but there's some interesting correlations. And you brought up 86. So I was like, I better say it. So.
Right, that's enough numbers for me today, but that was great. Thanks, man.
Well, thanks, Mark. So, maybe we'll reconvene in a few weeks and do part 2 or something. So,
well, there's
plenty of Batman stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm going to go and see what new films are coming out as well, because
Top Gun's coming out, isn't it?
Yes, that's another one that's been delayed by 3 years.
Yes,
that's going to have loads in it because Tom Cruise is a major player. So I'm really, yeah.
And do you know about what he did when he went to the premiere of Tenet, the Christopher Nolan film again? Tenet. Christopher Nolan's 195 actually, which is exchange of currency, which is Victoria Embankment, which is on the River Thames. River Thames is 138, which is revaluation Donald Trump, but the revaluation or the River Thames is 171. and you add that together to 198, the resurrection is 369. But he went along, and you can look at it on his Twitter feed now. No one in the national press, as far as I could see, anywhere around the world, i.e. UK, US, wherever, never featured the whole thing of the black mark on Buckingham Palace. I did a video on it. You know, it was deliberately taken off. They said, oh, a lorry backed in, knocked it off. That doesn't happen. They go around the side entrance in a tradesman entrance, not in one of the front entrances. So it was a deliberate soft mark. It's like when President Trump walks in front of the Queen and all the others. Anyway, Tom Cruise going to the Tenet film, and he's like, why am I wearing a mask? I'm wearing a mask. And he's in there doing his thing in a cab, but his cab drives deliberately past Buckingham Palace and shows the black mark. Yeah. And he's got a Twitter following, I don't know, 6.2 or whatever million followers, whatever it is. And he very rarely posts. I think he's posted maybe 1 or 2 additional posts since that time, or tweets, I should say, since probably 18 months ago when he did it, when he put it up. So that's it. So yeah, key player, asking himself why he was in a mask, but he had to show the black mark on the palace for those that wanted to see. So, all right, buddy. Well, thank you. Thanks to everyone on Psych.Club. Go over to Mark's channel, and everyone in the cosmic suit of Mark's adventures, come over to Psych.Club, and we'll speak soon. So.
Yeah, my channel is going to be dead for 3 months. Anybody watching this, so go to the markatwoodshow.com because all my videos are going on there. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers, Mark.
See you later, mate.
See you soon, buddy. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.